Welcome to Boxing on the Record with Randy and Chi-Town. Chi-Town, what's going on with you?
Man, Randy, if we can just for this moment here, just stick with this Tyson versus Ngannou fight for a second. After that fight, there was a lot of people saying that Ngannou got robbed, and I want to be clear. I want to be clear before all. Majority of these people did not score the fight. I know I didn't score the fight. No, I did. And why didn't anyone do? Because we know 99.999% of the time a boxer, a professional boxer, will always be an MMA fighter in the boxing ring because the MMAs do not. They do stand up. Stand up is a form of striking in combat sports, yes, but it's not boxing because they also get kicks. They get flips. They all these different type of things. So they have to kind of center their base differently than what boxers do. So that's why in a boxing match, boxers tend to always beat those types of martial arts fighters because boxers aren't expecting anything else to come back, like a kick to the leg or any of that stuff. So their weight distribution is different and they move differently than those who are used to fighting that way. And people that fight that way, it causes them to be more stationary. So I just want to be clear, with that in the beginning. And so all of us diehard boxing fans knew without a shadow of doubt that Francis was going to get knocked out at least by round three, round four, round five, somewhere. It's a 10-round fight. It wasn't going to be by round six that he was going to get knocked out. Someplace early in the fight because Francis doesn't know how to move as a boxer and how to distribute his weight the way that a boxer does. Well, lo and behold, we were all surprised. Francis dropped Tyson Furry. And from the time he dropped Tyson Furry, because this wasn't a legitimate fight, that entire round became a 10-8 round. Now we have to start scoring. Even though none of us planned on scoring, we had to start scoring mentally, at least. That's what I'm saying. For the rest of the fight, just to make sure that there's no funny business that happens at the end of the fight. Now, us diehard boxing fans knew by the end if Tyson Fury did not knock out Francis, and if Francis did not knock him out, that Tyson was going to win the fight by hell or high wire. So that is no surprise to any of us. There was going to be a way for Tyson to win because you have the undisputed fight against Usyk that's supposed to have been scheduled for later in December, I believe it was, but now they moved it based off of everything that's happened. So having laid that foundation, and after Francis knocked down Tyson Fury, and at the end, when the fight went the distance, and Fury actually winning on the scorecards, many people called robbery. Many well-known boxers and MMA fighters called robbery. I emotionally wanted to call robbery. I wanted to call it, hey, that was a robbery because of this. But I had to check myself. Am I putting way too much into that knockdown to where I'm so emotionally, caught up into this that I just am saying that Francis won that fight? I'm no longer using my boxing eyeballs to see if he actually was winning every round after that or the different rounds in between there for it to be, a fight that he won. Now I will say to you specifically, when the fight ended, I literally, even though I didn't score it, I said that I felt Francis won or the fight should be a draw. But I said it was a very close fight. In very close fights where either person can win, 9 times out of 10, we do not call it a robbery when the other person wins. We do not do that. We usually call it a robbery when a person wins rounds that they should have never won. Maybe when they got knocked down and it wasn't counted as a 10-8 round, or the ref or somebody else called a slip, or they just said it wasn't a round. And then at the end of the fight, when you look at the scores are just ridiculous. Make absolutely no sense. That's usually when we say, okay, so-and-so got robbed in a fight that goes a distance. So in this fight, before I started screaming robbery, I told everyone the next day that I need to see the fight again, and I need to look at the scorecards because I didn't score. So what I did do is I did look at the scorecards, and for the most part, I agreed with I definitely agreed with two of the judges' scorecards there, and specifically the one that had Francis winning by I think 2 points. But then I did see the other scorecard where the judge had Tyson winning by 2 points, and I looked at those different rounds. There were rounds where both fighters weren't really active; they were just barely active. But with Tyson being at least showy, moving forward, acting like he's doing something, maybe throwing out two or three jabs or something, that could allow him to win the round. And then vice versa. In rounds where neither one of them were doing anything, but Francis may have thrown, a hard left hook that landed at the very end. That could have been enough for him to win the fight. So in close rounds, who won those rounds? That's where the question is. And when I was looking at what the judges, except for the other guy, but what the judge was looking at, some of the discrepancy was in the close rounds. One would have Tyson. Most of them had Tyson win in the close rounds, but in one specifically, perhaps Francis. One judge gave that to Francis, and giving him that round in another close round is what allowed him to have Francis in the fight. And then when another judge chose to give those rounds to Tyson Fury and gave him an additional round to overcome that knockdown, he gave Tyson Fury the W. So on the scorecards and looking at it from a boxing judge's perspective, I don't feel the fight was a robbery. I do feel like Francis won, but or it should have been a draw. But I don't feel like it was just a straight out robbery for Tyson Fury to win. Randy, go ahead, man. I took up a lot of time building my foundation, so I want you to go ahead and flow with it, man, and then give me what you got.
Ain't no problem. I'm one of those that felt like it was a robbery, because I felt like they gave it to the wrong man. I felt like Francis was the most effective, uh, uh, clean punching throughout the fight, and I think a lot of people, and maybe the judges, I don't know, but a lot of people missed it because they were looking at an MMA fighter. They already had took their focus off of Francis, and they weren't expecting him to do anything. And when you're not expecting somebody to do anything, you don't see the good things that they're doing unless you're actually looking past what you done already prejudged. And if that had been Tyson, we said that Francis. A lot of us said that Francis probably wasn't gonna make it past three because he was an MMA fighter, and Tyson was the one that got dropped in the third round. If that had been Francis got dropped in the third round, everybody would have been looking at him getting up out the ground a whole lot different than they did when Tyson getting up out the ground. Since Tyson was getting up out the ground, they said, okay, well, he must have didn't train well. He must have didn't take it serious, and whatever excuse after the other. But if it had been Francis getting up out the ground, then they would have been like Tyson. I knew he was going to do that. He did what he came to do. So I think we kind of gave a lot of us kind of gave uh, tuck away the credit that Francis actually did in the effort that he put forth. Also, I think Tyson was hurt. I want to say around seven or somewhere now. I have to go back and watch the fight. He was hurt, but if that had been Francis hurt, everybody would have been talking about it. Then when you look at the illegal blow that Tyson did, I think those would have been two more points uh uh that would have been taken from the score and given to Francis. So I think it was a robbery. But at the same time, I also understand that if Tyson would have lost, then he would have messed up the bag because they are trying to make the fight with him and Alexander Usyk. And if he had a loss, that would have jeopardized that fight. Who want to see Francis and Usyk because Francis just coming up on the scene. Um, Also, I think another thing is it just shows me that the sanctioning body has the judges in their pockets because it seemed like anytime the fight is close, anytime we think the fight should be a draw, it seemed like the fight always go to the man that the sanctioning body wanted to go to. It to me, it very rarely goes to the man that it's not supposed to go to, unless he actually does something to really upset the apple cart. It just doesn't. So that's why I think it was a robbery. And I think we got robbed as fans because we didn't get the outcome that we should have gotten, that we've all sat here and seen, that most of the people in the boxing world on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube complain that Tyson lost that fight. We didn't get the satisfaction that we wanted. So I feel like we got robbed also. So what do you think in closing?
Randy, I gotta tell you, man. Again, you knock it out of the park. I mean, I think you present some extremely good and valid points. Especially about the sanction bodies and the judges being in their thing. And one thing I would just add to that, since these fights are scored, one specific area that they can have them in their pocket is giving the favored person. They don't have to be a champion, but just giving the favored person the benefit of doubt in each round. Any round that's close, if this is a favorite person per a sanctioning body, they will automatically give that round to whoever that favorite person is. And so, yeah, that's a subtle way of quote unquote controlling the fight and having the outcome that you desire the outcome. And we saw it right here because there was no belt, there was nothing on the line for anything. And we saw the favored person getting the benefit of the doubt in rounds, even if they did zero in that round. So, yeah, and I agree with you. Fury was definitely hurt a couple of times in that fight, especially late. Um, and one thing I just wanted to ask you, Randy, you spoke about what Francis being an MMA fighter, and we didn't expect much from him. The fact that not much was expected from him, and then him actually knocking Fury down in the third round. Do you think that actually could have added to people's overhype of Francis and their overexcitement and stating that, oh, he definitely won this fight because he wasn't even expected to be competitive and he knocked the quote unquote champion down. So he definitely is a person that is good. He should have won the fight. Do you think that clouded everybody's mind and made them over analyze everything that Francis did and not give him the proper criticism when he did not do anything in those rounds, in certain rounds as the fight went on?
That's a good question. And very rare I'm not it's very rare I'm not able to at least put something on a question that's asked to me, but I will say it from a personal I will answer that from a personal standpoint. Um I think um with Francis being the MMA fighter, I think instead of giving him something, he showed me something that I had never seen when it came to a Tyson fight. Like I said in our last video that we did, um, I seen him fight a strategic fight. I seen him take Tyson into deep waters and almost drown him because at the end of this fight, Tyson he didn't know what to do. He was ready for the fight to be over. He was just trying to ride the fight out. But we didn't see that because we too busy looking at Tyson as this the man. He the one that's you know what I mean? Like, and then a lot of disappointment came with that because if I'm not mistaken, I heard somebody do a video, it might have been Dante on Shakur Stevens, how he had to go back and eat his words on the fact that he thought Tyson was the better than Muhammad Ali and this, that, and the third, but then he can't even take an MMA fighter out. So I don't think it was the hype of him being an MMA fighter. I think it was more or less of the fight that he fought. We know in boxing, styles make fights. That was the total wrong style for Tyson Fury. That was the total. It was just all wrong for him. Didn't nobody know that until he got in the fight, because they figured he was an MMA fighter. He's coming to you. He's gonna bring the fight. You ain't gotta chase him. You ain't gotta do nothing but sit there and wait on him. That's the same thing with the Mexican fighters fighting the black fighters. When the Mexican fighters fight the black fighters, it's the wrong style because they're not finna meet you in the middle of the ring and slug it out. Black fighters say hit and not get hit. Mexicans say we're gonna slug it out until the first, until whoever fall, or to the last man standing. So I don't want to keep going on with it because we're on already on about 15 minutes in this video. But that's the way I feel about it. You got any closing words?
Now that you, again, you shut it down as usual, Randy. I ain't got nothing else on that, man. Those are holy words. Now let those stand for what they are, man.
Sound good to me. With that being said, we're out of here like last year.
Peace.